Good day, y'all. I hope your day is flowing amazingly well, and I hope you're ready to feed that there prediction addiction as we review the past week's events and how they relate to predictions and such. And all as we move slowly out of the month of June and into the most powerful window of 2025, July 2025. It's going to be interesting. All today, while we sit on the eve of the powerful new moon cycle that's going to be ringing in tomorrow, heading us into this next manifesting waxing moon cycle, all while we continue to see the world appearing to tumble backwards towards new conflicts and an economic crunch happening globally. So much of what I predicted, some going back 3 years ago, seemed to all be flowing into reality one after another, including the conflict that happened between Israel and Iran, which I predicted last year. I showed you the clips last week. And now United States involved over the weekend in bombing their alleged nuclear sites in Iran. But were they really successful, friends? What do you think? Do you think they really were successful? Because they're not really telling us much. And you may be surprised by the answers given to my spirit guides. And since I started writing this morning and it's Monday, there's an alleged ceasefire that's supposed to take place in 12 hours. How's that going to work out? And on Monday, we received the news today that Iran retaliated. First, we hear that. Iran retaliated by hitting U.S. bases in Qatar. That was another thing I warned was going to happen earlier this year. The big question is, where is this all really heading? And are we about to still enter into this endless, senseless conflict in the Middle East? Because do you really think that this ceasefire, which was given 12 hours, so they got 12 hours to continue to bomb each other, are they going to really cease fire? Or will it be temporarily? Well, I'll tell you all about that today and how it still aligns with past predictions. And how is this going to affect the economy, especially when it comes to the prices of gas at the pumps? This is when we get to the latter part of this year, to the autumn season, to the equinox, and even the solstice. Complete chaos as we once again see Russia using new types of attacks on Ukraine. And will this ever end, friends? It will eventually. Just not yet. Just not yet. And did you see that large, creepy round object that just literally fell out of the skies in Indiana? Very strange, friend. No surprise that it's connected to defense contractors and likely DARPA as well. So what exactly was it? And why is there still drone activity happening all over the East Coast of the United States, but no one just seems to be discussing that fact very much lately? What's that all about? And are we heading into this window of time that's going to bring more crazy invasions when it comes to the skies and sky events? We're not even in July yet. And things are falling from the sky is falling, friends. The sky seems to appear to be falling. Now, Spirit warned us that there would be a coming of 3 volcanic eruptions, if you recall. 2 signifying the third coming event and unleashing global events worldwide. One of the places Spirit pointed to, and I pointed to in Weather Prediction Map, was Indonesia. And just over the weekend, Indonesia had a major blast, sending ash and debris miles in the sky. And now a warning about Alaska's volcano, one of Alaska's volcanoes, I'm sure there's many, that's getting ready to rumble according to sources and satellite data. Could this be the second? Because Spirit did also point to Alaska and several other eruptions that were going to occur in the United States if you go back 2 years ago to channeled predictions. And I feel that these are more than likely on our doorsteps because it's really interesting that things I said 2 and 3 years ago are all playing out recently. Very interesting. And did you know that on summer solstice last week, winter solstice for our friends down there in the southern hemisphere, but up here in the northern hemisphere, summer solstice brought snow. That's right, snow, that bad 4-letter word, to several strange places. Remember the prophecy that I did? And I did a video on the prophecies of Mary Summer Rain and No Eyes. And No Eyes said in the prophecy, winter and summer all mixed together. So is this a sign or is this actually normal? What did the spirits say? We're going to find out today. I also predicted and warned to be very mindful when it comes to being at outdoor festivals and music festivals, especially outdoor more than anything. And I saw attacks coming on several such attacks. Over the weekend, a very strange attack happened at a music festival over there to our friends in Paris, France. Oui, they got stabbed with syringes. A lot of people, too. What's that all about? That's an interesting form of attack, to say the least. We're going to tell you about that, and I'm sure our friends in France are going to want to know about this. And I talked about fear-like attacks happening in France, United States. So far, United States has been pretty safe, knock on wood, but how long is that going to last? I'll tell you all about this today and warnings about future attacks, because there's so much happening in the world, as you know, friends, so much still. And maybe a little too much happening in the world, really, with a ton more that's still on our doorsteps. So, let's vibe with the tribe, friends, and feed that prediction addiction on this June 24th episode, number 172 of Tuesday's Tittle Teatime, baby. Good day, y'all, once again. I hope everything's flowing amazingly for you. A wild weekend of events as solstice season kicked in last week. A window of time that Spirit pointed directly to, informing us that we would begin to feel the energies off the sun as it unleashes this sun flare activity and amazing new light codes of ascension just before the solstice, which is exactly, friends, exactly how it all played out. Interesting enough, it all came flowing in actually the day before the solstice. Those energies began hitting again the day before, but they continued to flow onto our planet the day of the solstice. A very significant event for helping all of us to reach higher levels of consciousness. That is an exciting thing that actually did happen and occur over the weekend. And I hope you took advantage of it, friends. I hope you took advantage and you watched the video that I put out on solstice. The light codes, which basically are geometric-based number codes, kind of like programming a computer. That it's just like programs for a computer. But these programs are for the computers of our brain, our mind, because our mind and brain is a computer, which in turn, this touches the body and the spirit, the soul, gets deep down, programming and putting in new light code programs. Kind of exciting. These light code events affect everyone on the planet in different ways. So our computers are very unique. These computers up here, friends, these computers are very, very unique to all of us as individuals. So truly, the only way to truly benefit from these ascension codes that will continue to flow in over the next month, to be sure to take a little time, friends, to meditate, to absorb these energies, because it's much more powerful when we actually unplug and take time to do so. Spirit directed me to do so, with a minimum of an 11-day, what I call the sun meditation. Every day, sitting outside, facing towards the sun, with my eyes closed. I put on my headphones, some good meditation, alpha music. I meditate, visualizing the rays of light accompanied by these geometric patterns and numbers flowing in through my crown chakra, the third eye, and all my chakras. I actually go through each and every chakra to utilize it. And this is the first time, also a perfect time to utilize manifesting, focusing on the future in which you live in already. That's how you see it. You don't wish or hope for it. You just see yourself there knowing, I don't know how I'm getting there, but that's where I'm at in the future. And at the same time, when I do these meditations, I envision the whole entire planet Earth coated in peace and light and love. And I've been doing it. Today was day 5 in a row, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah. About four in a row. I lost track. I think day's 4 in a row, but I'm going to continue to do it throughout the whole month of July. But every day, 11 minutes a day, unplug, step outside, friends. It's only 11 minutes. I put on 2 tracks on my music that are over 11 minutes, just to ensure that I know when I get through those 2 tracks, my meditation. And sometimes I sit longer. But it's never too late to start, friends. Just because solstice was on last week, it's never too late to start this and dedicate yourself to it for at least 11 days. So 11 minutes, 11 days. Well, furthermore, if you can. Now, tomorrow we have this very powerful day of renewal. But also another window of time that can bring about both good and maybe some not so good events. It's an emotional healing new moon in the sign of Cancer, which can assist in emotional healing, and it's really is huge, friends. It's a representative of the sacred waters. And this is a 15-day moon cycle, the waxing moon, which can be huge when it comes to this particular one, when it comes to floods, water issues, broken water main lines. We're still in that energy, and this just intensifies it more. We talked about the water over the past few weeks, the water issues, sewage issues, or septic issues here, sink issues. This is going to highlight and heighten in these coming weeks, starting now, really, the day before we go into this new moon cycle. It's already happening. We're also stepping into what I would refer to as tsunami season. The first tsunami season we had in likely over a decade. So it's going to be interesting, friends. This new moon is also ideal time to release any emotional burdens that you may have from the past. It's a time to really start anew, because that's what the new moon's about. It's a great time to start new things, because remember, on the 30th, we step into the pre-shadow, of Mercury retrograde in Leo, which affects Leos, and it always affects Gemini and Virgo, because Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo. And then it goes direct, I believe, around the 15th of July. So this new moon's the perfect new moon to start new things. Over this next 2 weeks, you're good, especially in this next week. So launch new things, friends. Launch new things. Now, this time is not only to start new things, it's also about healing family. I could talk family. I bit my lip, so if I talk funny sometimes, it's probably because I bit my lip. Eating, which happens sometimes, I don't know why, but it hurts. So when I slip, that's what it is, friends. So this energy and this new moon is all about healing family dynamics. Cancer rules family, and it also rules ancestral ties. So this energy supports reconciliation, boundary setting. We all need to set our boundaries now, don't we? And heart-centered conversations, friends. Get out and have a nice, good, heart-centered conversation with anyone. Anyone that's willing to open up and be a part of that heartfelt conversation. This is a time to heal wounds when it comes to our lineage and reconnect with family in a healthier and more conscious ways. So a good focus coming up starting tomorrow on the new moon. And you may feel this urge, or that you should really act upon this urge, if you do have this urge, to create a more nurturing inner world, whether it's through meditation, emotional regulation, or just simplifying your lifestyle, whatever that may look like for you. And remember to pay great attention to your intuition, to your dreams, paranormal activity. All these things are heightened coming up now and throughout the month of July. So you may see things that you would have never thought you would have seen before. Especially, again, in July, even more so, because we're in that 7 vibration of spiritual ascension. So going back to this new moon, again, it's a great time to simplify your lifestyle, a great time to commit to self-care practices. Maybe cook some good nourishing food, some good meals that you haven't done before. Experiment a little bit. And make your living space, your home and living space, more supportive to your soul's vibe. You know, remember, the feng shui of your home is so important. This house is feng shui to the best of my ability. So as I stated earlier, as far as how this energy affects the collective and world events, flooding, rogue waves, tsunamis are a huge focus in coming weeks. And this energy can also bring focus on real estate markets and on the real estate, housing initiatives and things revolved around housing. And this can also bring about discussions and policies when it comes to our indigenous friends and their rights, childcare, and even adoption. So these are all things to look towards, and that we'll see maybe play out even in the media over the coming weeks. Now, take advantage of this new moon, friends, this waxing moon cycle, because it's all about honoring your feelings, releasing old emotional baggage, forgiving family wounds, and creating sacred space within your home. Very important. A beautiful time, friends, for water ceremonies, meditation, ancestral work, and you will notice a boost in your intuition again, but only if you really take time to honor yourself. Honor yourself again and take that 11 minutes to meditate every day. It's just 11 minutes. You can do it. Put some music on, and you don't even need to believe you need to know how to meditate. Just sit down, focus on your breath, close your eyes, and just take 11 minutes. Plug into the sun's energy, plug into the earth's energy. You'll be glad you did. And even if it's just for 5 minutes, friends, just take 5 minutes. The spirits told me 11, but that's me. If you take 5 minutes, your spirits will be very glad, very happy that you took that time to do so. And it's better than doing nothing at all, better than doing nothing at all. Now, also coming up on June 26th, we have Mercury entering into the fiery sign of Leo, which welcomes in the energy of this bold expression and this whole creative fire. We also may likely see some wildfires break out beginning around that time, June 26th, and the weeks following June 26th. This welcomes in this wonderful energy, though, a wonderful time, actually, to truly speak from your heart. If there's something you've been wanting to say from your heart, this will be the time to do so. If you have a story you want to share, because we all have many stories, actually, and others may actually appreciate you sharing that story. So use your voice for empowerment when we have this coming in on June 26th. Take advantage of this transit also by stepping into your creative power. Share your story, pitch your vision, your idea. If you have a brand that you want to launch your brand. Or just simply speak your truth, friend. Speak your truth and do so with pride and with joy. Now, on the world stage, I would expect to see huge announcements, perhaps even shocking announcements of sorts, when it comes to public figures, celebrities. Maybe even see some shocking celebrity stuff. Maybe our next Weinstein or Epstein's heading our way in the near future. So the next few weeks would be very, very interesting and very, very intense. And I'll have more in the July's forecast and predictions, which I plan on premiering on these platforms on Sunday. So keep an eye out for that. And then to my supporters on Subscribestar, hopefully by Friday. So keep an eye out for that. But I do want to touch on a couple important things that are coming up in July, to put this out a little early, because there's some 2 dates that are really significant, more than I actually thought. July 4th being the big one. And I don't look at the transits that are happening for the coming, every month until I get ready to sit down and do the forecast. And I just happened to look at the transits that are happening in July this morning, just a brief look, specifically at July 4th and July 7th, because they were 2 dates that I got from Spirit a while ago. I told you those dates a while ago. So it's really interesting. When I sat down to look at these, I was very intrigued, and you will be quite intrigued by the whole July 4th thing, because it's, again, a date that I've been warning about for some time. If you remember when Toya came here from Japan to interview me earlier this year, he asked what date I felt would be significant to the big blast that's going to occur in the Pacific Ocean. And I felt July 4th or sometime in the month of July. And I said July 4th in the United States because I just felt like it was a huge date of major events happening and perhaps something that launches humanitarian aid or humanitarian efforts. Now, July 4th, depending on the time of day, so say in the afternoon here, July 4th, it's already July 5th in other places, in other countries, in other parts of the world. So always keep that in mind when I provide dates. The dates I receive are dates that are significant to where I reside. So if I say July 4th and it happens July 5th for you, or if I said July 1st and it happens July 6th for you, or July 2nd, for you, and you're in Australia or I know Japan and other places, it's the next day there. So the date would be a little off for you. So now on July 4th, we have so much happening, friends. We have Venus entering Gemini, which is going to have an effect on communications, especially with that pre-shadow Mercury retrograde coming up, especially that. And it's going to be like a window where we begin to see major power outages starting on July 4th with that alignment, but also in the whole month of July as we go into that deep direct retrograde energy beginning around the 15th of July. So expect there during this time period that there's going to be major cyber attacks, power outages beginning on July 4th and moving into early August. Now, on that same day, July 4th, we have Neptune retrograde begins in Aries. So that's another retrograde beginning. We have Venus in Gemini conjunct Uranus in Gemini. And then we have the moon entering the sign of Scorpio, all on July 4th, friends. And that's going to bring in even more water influences when we have the moon entering Scorpio. Lots of water. Cancer, Scorpio, we got so much water stuff going on. And that is just way too much, friends. Way too much happening in one day, in my opinion. So lay low on July 4th. That's my advice. Lay low. Now, also, July 7th was another date that I felt that 7-7. 7-7 felt like a massive event that could occur, on that day this year. And that's when Uranus moves directly towards Gemini. And that's a huge event. That is a massive event for 2025. Watching it move over to that. And this, again, is going to affect communications. Gemini does that. As I have been telling you since back in December, July is going to be the ride of our lives, friends. The ride of our lives. So don't be scared. Be prepared. Hold on tight. And keep an eye out for my July forecast and predictions. Beautiful souls, I just want to take a moment to welcome you back to the channel. And if you're new here, hey, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the tribe, friends. And if you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, and you want to vibe with our awesome tribe that we have here, be sure to smash that subscribe, the bell, and all so that you get notifications. And also click that thumbs up love button because it'll help more content like this show up on your feed. And it also helps this channel and helps our tribe to grow. Also, be sure to follow me on other platforms. You can find all the links down below in the description. And you'll find my short video predictions on TikTok. I've been putting them on Instagram, but Instagram's quite disappointing. Riddle me this there, Zuckerberg. How come when I post the same short on TikTok as I do Instagram, and on TikTok I get thousands and thousands of views and 100 or more new followers, and I put the same thing on Instagram and it does nothing, like barely anything? A little shady there. Zuck don't like me. We've concluded that. I think I might eventually delete my Instagram. I'm thinking about it. I'm highly considering. I'm going to give it a whirl for another month, and if it still goes nowhere, I'm getting rid of it. I'll stick with TikTok and YouTube. And Facebook only because I have friends and such on there. People I grew up with and such. Now, down below, you'll find the newsletter and the link to my newsletter. Be sure to sign up for that. It's free, and with the July forecast coming out soon, you're going to want to have that in your inbox. And it's free. Make sure when you subscribe, just open the newsletter below. You'll see in the top corner a little link to open up and subscribe. Subscribe there. That's the best place to subscribe. And you will get a email. You must confirm that email. Check your spam folders. Very important. Other than that, it's out of my control. But sign up. Also sign up to the communities down below. Besides that, the Subscribe Star supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else, and all the other supporters and members of this channel, I appreciate you with infinite love and gratitude. Beware on those platforms too, especially Instagram and Facebook, but sometimes TikTok. The scammers that steal my videos, pictures, they do it to others too. Anybody they can scam you out of money, that's what they do. So if you get a private message on one of them platforms, beware that it's 99% chance that it's not me. Direct contact with me is only done through my website, josephtittel.com or spiritmanjt.com. That's where you want to go, friends. That's where you want to go. So let's move on to episode 172 of Teatime. Well, friends, it's happening just as Spirit warned it would last year. United States went into Iran and began a bomb campaign to allegedly take out Iran's nuclear facilities. But anyone who is truly tuned in knows that this has nothing to do with nukes, friends. Nothing to do with it, as much as it has to do with the actual resources and forcing a change of the regime in Iran, which, in accordance to past predictions, is going to come into fruition. Because it came through in predictions and channel predictions way before this whole mess even began. I saw the Ayatollah being taken out, and I saw, the explosions in Tel Aviv and Tehran. It's happening. And again, the Ayatollah, going back to channel predictions months ago, him and a bunch of other world leaders and people in power. And July is going to be a huge month where we will begin to see these predictions really coming into fruition when it comes to the fall of leaders and leaders falling out of power. That's going to really hit the headlines in July and throughout the year, but especially July. July and September, Spirit just whispered in my ear. So also when we get to the latter part of the year, November, December, huge events are going to take place during that time period. And lately, Christmas time has been coming to me really strongly. So as we approach those times, I'm sure I'll get more information from my amazing team of spirit guides and guardian angels. So from what I learned, the president does not get to go in and bomb a country without Congress's approval. Right? Like, isn't Congress supposed to approve this, or did they do it without telling us? Just seems like everybody forgot about that little fact of how things are supposed to go. Now, clearly, this shows that Israel overrules our Congress and Constitution, dragging us into another one of their little conflicts. That's, again, just another simple fact. Now, this has been their plan going back a long time, going all the way back to Baby Bush and the Baby Bush administration. Probably handed down by his daddy, Old Man Bush, himself. Many people forget, about the whistleblower that came out. I guess you could call him a whistleblower that blew the whistle about bombing the Middle East countries and about this whole little window of time that they planned on doing this. Except they did fail at that window of time. But does that mean it's still out of their agenda? I doubt it. But check out this quick clip as just a reminder of what their plan was going back over a decade ago.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
7 countries in 5 years. Well, next on the list is Iran, according to the list. And remember the Baba Vanga prophecy? When Syria falls, the world burns. And Syria allegedly fell earlier this year. So I believe that she might have even been seeing, she said the world burns. And I think she was probably seeing something more related to something nuclear related. That's what I would say. Baba Vanga, the blind prophet from Bulgaria. I did a whole video on her. Check it out on my channel. Whole in-depth video. Now, I believe that that's what she was probably seeing. As I also predicted we would see in the future some use of a tactical nuke. Whether that be, what's happening. Apparently there's this ceasefire happening now. Well, not yet. Another 10 hours, I guess. But here's another interesting fact about Iran and the fact that this is probably really more about resources and regime change more than anything. And I don't know how anybody don't see that. It's happened in Iraq, just Libya, just go on and on. The list goes on and on. So are you familiar with the mineral antimony? I hope I said that right. Antimony, Antimony. And please don't correct me in the comments. I don't need an English teacher. Thank you. So anyway, this mineral is very popular, very, very expensive mineral that has been controlled mainly by China, who has been holding the largest supply. And this mineral is critical, friends, especially for those that like to make bombs, military-grade alloys, hypersonic tech, and even quantum computing. And I found this really interesting because it's also used in the medical realm. I thought was really interesting. And guess what for it? Parasite infection. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was really interesting. Now, China limits the heck out of this mineral and does not want to give it to the United States pretty much at all. And they're basically keeping it out of the hands of the United States. And they are the biggest supplier of it. They have more than anybody. Now, what do you think of this simple fact? Going back to March of this year, Iran announced that they discovered a very pure deposit of this very rare mineral exceeding at least 7,000 tons of this very rare mineral. Likely there is a lot more than that too. That's just a rough estimate, but I bet you there's a lot more than that. So could this be what the conflict is really all about? United States control of more minerals? Because they have nothing else to bargain with? Just a thought, friends. Just a thought. Now, being they are running out of their own and probably have more mineral consumption than anyone in the nation, aside from China, and they're running out, what a better thing. What about the Greenland thing? Don't you think that's probably about resources too? I'm sure it is, friends. I'm sure it is. It's always about resources. Now, if China limits the United States from purchasing antimony, and Iran is now part of the BRICS nations, a mineral that is literally the gateway resource, it is critical for future tech. It's critical for future war. And Iran has something that the United States desperately wants. This mineral that was just announced in March. No coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Iran has something that the U.S. cannot control. And they, want to disrupt the market. It's also about military spending, too, at the same time, friends. They have to keep launching things and doing things for military spending. Only to keep, the investors, the war-happy neocon warmongers happy. Because that's where they're making their money. So, let's be honest with each other here, friends. Let's be honest. Now, so there is no doubt at this point, especially now that Iran has responded by firing the same amount of missiles the United States used on their nuclear facilities. So I forget what the number was, but say there were 6. So Iran turned around and launched 6 missiles at an American base in Qatar. And now Qatar jumped aboard with the United States, as they should, because it is their land. But they jumped in very quickly, and I kind of find it kind of really interesting, because isn't this the same country that gave that new plane to the United States? Interesting. I'm sure there's no coincidence there. Sure. Now, Iran should have waited. They shouldn't have responded at all. They should have just not responded on purpose just to see if the conflict would just stop completely automatically. But they know it won't. And it's supposed to now with this alleged ceasefire that I just read about a little while ago. Remember, I am recording this on Monday. And it is, time is it? 5:48 p.m. here in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. Hee-haw. Anyway, so going back to the conflict, they're planning a much, much larger attack, friends, Iran. They have been for a long time. And they have been for at least 5 years, Spirit says. And soon they are going to initiate that with the help of others, probably like China. And they will launch this on some significant date. Kind of like, 911. They pick dates for reasons or numbers for reasons. The 11th or the 22nd of a month. Or significant holidays. Sometimes religious holidays or what have you. So could, not sure what the date is. Maybe July 4th. That would be a time to hit the U.S. if they wanted to make a statement. But at the same time, I saw simultaneous attacks taking place in the United States and other countries. Like we were all being hit at once. That's what I saw. Now, I don't know when this is playing out. This could be a couple more years down the road because some predictions take a few years to play out. At the same time, the way things have been going lately, it just makes more and more sense that we're heading closer to this time of this happening. We'll have to see. And July 4th, maybe Christmas. Again, maybe down the line. Maybe November 9th, which would be the opposite. That would be 11/9 instead of the other way around. I don't know. I just know that what Spirit has shown me is being planned and what I've seen in visions. So I can only stick with that. I can only assume with everything else. Now, if you missed any of those details that I posted in the video on Sunday of the channel predictions, that sheds a lot more light on these coming attacks, along with the details about artificial intelligence and where that's heading. So I'll leave a link up above and a link down below so that you can catch that and find that information out. Good information in there. It's short too. It's 30 minutes, I think. 28 minutes. Now here is another interesting truth. The Bilderberg Group. Are you familiar with the Bilderberg Group? If not, look them up, friends. Look them up, and really I encourage you to jump down that rabbit hole of truth and just be sure, because you might get lost down in that rabbit hole. Now, some claim that they are the ones making the world decisions. And it's pretty obvious that they are, actually. And just about every leader, prime ministers, presidents, attended their highly secret meeting, like we'll say Bill Clinton, for example. He attended their meeting, their highly secret and highly guarded meeting. It's no secret anymore. And coincidentally, right before they go in to these meetings, they come out and they end up in office as president or prime ministers. See, when Bill Clinton went in there, he was not in that position. But he got in that position soon after that next election. And we see this on and on. Macron was at the Bilderberg meeting right before he went into office. And the list goes on and on and on, friends. I think they bring them in and field them out and decide, get them to sign their soul to the devil before they, put them in office. That's, right beforehand. That's why I tell you, friends, I've been telling you all this is all pre-orchestrated and fixed. Our votes literally don't mean crap in most countries today. So the Bilderberg Group had this emergency meeting in Switzerland because they meet, I believe, once a year. They had an emergency meeting about a week or so ago in Switzerland just before Israel made this decision to invade yet another country. So is there a plan to make Iran look like Gaza? Was that what they were talking about at this Bilderberg meeting? Now, look at how beautiful Gaza was. And not that long ago either, friends. And now look at the difference, the before and after. What it looks like now. An absolute wasteland. Absolute wasteland. That is sad. That is tragic. That is just so sad and tragic. And keep in mind, the other big discovery that happened in Gaza, in case you weren't aware, again, do your research, of gas and oil beneath the Gaza. Just telling you, just saying, a little truth for you. Maybe it's, again, resources and control. It's all about resources and control. Now, I've shown you many times the clips of old man George Bush addressing the United Nations, insisting that they are going to forge a new world order. Remember that? I looked all over for that video today. I could not find it. It's like they scrubbed it. You can watch the whole address, but you can't just find that little clip. I have it somewhere on one of my computers, but no need to search. You've seen it a million times. You heard it a million times. So check out this old clip, though. This one you haven't seen, likely. This is the Bilderberg Group and what they plan and what they do behind those closed doors. Give a listen.
At a 1991 closed-door meeting of fellow internationalists, billionaire and former CFR chairman David Rockefeller praised his media allies, but his confidence that his words would not leave the room was later broken.
We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other publications whose directors have attended our meetings and restricted their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government.
That these men aim to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. In short, they seek total and quiet control of the entire world.
Now there's some truth for us right in our faces again, friends. And I've told you for over 20 years that the global elite and the 13 dynasty families, who are really the ones that are pulling all the strings, plan to push us deeply into this matrix of control. We will have this huge divide that's coming in the future, the very near future. This divide that's happening on the planet Earth, not just between the people, but divide in the matrix, we'll say. And this divide, which is going to be where some remain behind, stuck in that matrix, refusal to work on themselves, refusal to do what needs to be done. And then there's going to be those that shift. So those that are locked into that 3D matrix, while others, those who work on themselves, again, plug into the frequencies, especially the frequencies of love and higher vibrations, those will be the ones that step into the 5-dimensional world. When is this all going to occur? Don't have a date on it, but I remember when I was much younger, in my youngin' days, the spirits told me 2032, the new earth would emerge. 2032 is right around the corner, and they haven't told me anything different since. And I heard that when I was in my late teens, because it seemed so far off. I was like, am I going to be alive by then? How old am I going to be? I had to add it up in my head. So it's just the way it's meant to be, friends. It's just the way it's meant to be. It's the split, the divide that's happening. It's just the way the universe orchestrated it. So this could be also even linked to the Christians' belief of the rapture, where some people go and some people don't. And they think they're going to heaven, but really they're going to the new heavenly earth. Although we also can look at the Hopi prophecy. The Hopi talk about the star people who come down from the heavens and remove the chosen ones, that being the Hopi people, bringing them back into the space and bring them back down when the earth's done shifting. But who are really the ones on the list of the chosen ones? I would assume that would have to do with your soul contracts. I don't think it's one race or one group of people other than the chosen ones. And I have no answers to that question, friends. Not at the moment, anyway. So here's another quick thing I wanted to share, which seems to be very symbolic, in my opinion. Check out this clip, and we'll discuss after.
עזוב את הדגל!
הלו! הלו, אדוני!
עורב!
היי!
אנרכיסט! הלו!
וואלה!
עזוב את הדגל, בחייאת! אני בשוק. עורב, מה? אני בהלם. אני בשוק.
Now that is beyond interesting. A big black raven. Ravens happen to be very sacred to a lot of indigenous tribes and shamanic work and symbolism. They're said to be the smartest birds that can mimic humans and mimic other animals, which they can. Amazing. You ever see the guy in New York who discovered that he was feeding the ravens, or it was crows there, I think it was the crows, which are just as smart, but ravens are bigger. It's interesting. Back east, it's all crows. Out here, it's all ravens. It's kind of interesting to me. But anyway, the ravens started bringing him coins, and he's got buckets and buckets of money. He feeds the ravens, and they go and find money in the streets of New York. I think that's hysterical. So they're very, very symbolic. They're very smart. So the question is, wasn't this bird trained to go up there and do that and pull down the Israeli flag? It's possible. I mean, we got to look at that. They're smart birds, and it could have very well been trained. But likely, regardless, even if that's the case or not, this is still, in my opinion, very significant. Perhaps a huge sign that something big is about to fall within Israel. Perhaps Netanyahu. That could make sense. We'll have to see how it goes out. And now what also just popped in my mind is the flag's pretty much white, and the raven's black. That also shows the balance of the two. Just a thought, friends. Now remember my visions of a major blast and an attack in Tel Aviv? Yes, they're being hit by Iran. I don't know about now, but they were all weekend. But I also saw something that I felt more like it was like fear attack related, like something being stashed in the city somewhere that affected, when it went boom, it affected people's skin in some way. So let's hope this isn't the case. I know there's this alleged ceasefire that's happening, but with the astrology, the energies, and everything that's coming up in July, it's just not going to hold strong. I mean, you want the truth, friends. Don't shoot the messenger if you don't like the message. So I'm not going to go into what's coming in the way of retaliation from Iran, other than they hit the military bases, which I told you they would. But I also saw attacks on embassies, and that was more like Benghazi and people raiding it. So that'll play out at some point. And then I also see and saw attacks on hotels. I don't know where this is, but some kind of attacks with hotels. Now, back to my channel predictions again last year or 2 years back, I saw things that were happening. So you have to go back to that. And then also I'll have more when it comes to my July predictions. But I've already covered and gave you details of this. And now we know that's likely Iran's retaliation in the future. And not even just them, others, the Houthis and all the rest of those people that weave in that web of darkness. So what I will say, though, is that we have already been at war for some time. It just doesn't appear that way. Because this is, us now clearly beginning to see that it's been going on by seeing the escalations that are taking place. But it's been happening for a while. Now, soon the United States is going to create a huge excuse, likely, again, a flag that flies ever so falsely, in order to get Americans in Congress on board with going into Iran again. You watch, friends, it's coming. And this may not come right away, as I see further escalations of global conflict when we get to the latter part of the year. November, December especially, but beginning in October. And October always is significant. If you look back in time, July is always a big month. October is always a big month. Why is that? Must be one of the globalists' favorite months for whatever they do. Now, I found it interesting, not surprising at all, that Iran happened to shut down their internet, proving to us all that countries do have an on and off switch for the internet. So about a year ago or so, I forget how long, but I remember seeing a vision of a big switch. The way Spirit showed me was a big switch on the wall, and I saw somebody walk up and switch the switch off. I don't know what the switch was for, but I took this as, me seeing, things being turned off purposely from probably within the countries. Now, to block us, of course, especially if it's the internet, that's to block us from the truth. And more than anything, communication. They don't want us to communicate for short periods of time. Get the real information out there. So prepare yourselves, friends, for I have no doubt that there's huge cyber attacks coming. No doubt. At all. And there's going to be coming cyber attacks on power grids, communications, especially again in July, like internet, cell phones. We're going to see many sales systems, whether it's credit card companies, banking systems, also getting hacked and going down in July. So if you're going to buy something, make sure you have cash on you just in case everything goes down and you can't use your cards. There's going to be hacks into the Pentagon and other government branches, not just in the United States, but around the globe. So that's going to be interesting. Now, what they tell us and what they don't tell us, that's going to be a different story. Now, I also remind you of another past prediction when Spirit told us that some type of technology would be used to bring in major earthquakes, especially to Iran and China. If you recall, somebody reminded me because I can't remember everything that goes through this head. I can't remember it all. Especially a lot of it rolls out of my mouth and I just don't remember that stuff. So thank you when you leave timestamps of things I said in the past in the comments. I so greatly appreciate that. Because I know some of you take notes and write things down. I know some people take notes, write things down, and go to their own channel and say things. Just saying. But if you write things down and you remember me saying something, please do leave me a timestamp below. I greatly appreciate you for doing so. So I also remind you again, past prediction, Spirit told us that they would use this technology. And we heard the whistleblower come out about that technology. We know it exists. And I see this technology being used in Iran and against China. And it'll probably be vice versa, because if we have it, I'm sure China probably has it too. So we're going to have to just watch really, really closely, friends, really closely. At the same time, earthquake activity is going to be off the charts in the coming weeks, as is. So it's going to be interesting. So also a warning, as I feel New York City, I feel like there's some kind of huge attack coming in New York City. Excuse me. And this could be one of the cities I saw in my channel predictions where I saw people living in the subway systems, waiting to emerge. Which that's just so creepy. It looks like something out of a horror movie. But that's what Spirit showed me. And I go with what the Spirit say because they haven't lied to me yet. Now, this just in, too. Again, Trump did announce a ceasefire when I was working on my show this morning. And then I happened to check my email and saw this news flash. Didn't they have ceasefires in the past? Agreements that didn't last at all? They continued. So, again, as I said earlier, don't count on this lasting, especially after they bombed the U.S. base in Qatar. You think the United States is just going to let that pass by like nothing happened? Come on. Come on, friends. Let's be real with each other. They'll make something look like Iran broke the agreement. I bet you. Or Iran perhaps could actually break the agreement. That would not at all surprise me either. They just want a little break to give them more time to prep things. Not only that, friends, whatever was in that one big nuclear installation underground, they moved that stuff out. They got forewarning that it was coming, so they went and moved as much out as they possibly could. And they have much deeper, much more hidden places, according to the spirits. Much more hidden, which means they're much harder to get to. And I don't feel like their little buster bombing got completely in there. It's just my feelings. FYI, let me know what your feelings are. Do you think they got it? Do you think they got it? I don't think they got it. And that could be their next excuse. Oh, we thought we got it, but we didn't. We got to go back. They did, and that really wasn't about that anyway. Really wasn't about that way. But we'll see who's going to break the agreement. They have 12 hours to continue bombing each other. I thought that was an interest. Ceasefire should be like now. Like now, at the top of the hour, ceasefire. Why 12 hours? I thought that was weird. I thought that was really weird. So, I don't know. But remember, I am filming this on Monday, so by the time you watch this, many things could happen in the next 24 hours, but by the time this premieres. Keep that in mind. With all this conflict, of course it's going to have a huge hit on the economy, as we are about to see some huge drops in the markets, close to the point of crashing. And eventually, that's the point, because remember, I've been telling you this for years, friends. This is the billionaire globalist plan to collapse it. They cashed in, they put all their money and turned their money into the right places, and they're still doing that. There were huge transfers of wealth that we know about over the past year. They're pushing us towards this new digital global currency. It's a fact. We know it. And we see the president of the United States here and making these huge agreements with these cryptocurrency companies. Huge agreements. And then putting money into Bitcoin and such. That should tell you something right there, friends. And then he hangs out with creepy folks like Peter Thiel. That guy is creepy. Talk about having demonic attachments. He also owns Palantir, the company that now holds all the data for Americans. Did you know that they pawned that off on us too? So what do you think their plan is, friends? Total surveillance? Total control? A real, true matrix system? I remind you of my other visions that I had going back a few years ago, too. Seeing gas crisis like we saw here in the 70s. Remember those visions? That was probably about 2 years ago. I had visions of people lined up for gas and major gas prices. I remember I was a little kid when that happened. I remember that. I remember driving down and seeing my sister and her boyfriend in line for gas. So that some point in the 70s, I remember that. Vaguely, but I do remember that. So now this is looking much more plausible, wouldn't you think? As this event is going to hit many places. United States, when it does hit these shortages, it's coming. You mark my words. Gas shortages and problems with gas and oil, hiked prices, big time prices. But it'll only, I felt, be somewhat short-lived in the United States. Likely because the United States is just going to start pumping oil and such here. Whereas throughout Europe, I felt like it was more challenging and lasted much longer. So many folks across Europe are going to have issues heating their homes during this record cold winter that's approaching. So keep that in mind, friends. Prepare, friends, in any way that fits your lifestyle and your budget. Just don't be scared. Be prepared. Now, our friends over there in Paris over the weekend had an attack on them at a music festival, and you'll remember my warnings for coming outdoor and music festival events. I predicted that one that occurred on October 7th a few years ago. And sadly, there's more to come. Spirit showed me one that I would compare to what happened in Las Vegas years ago, which was in my predictions that year. I forget what year that was. The guy high up in the window, so we were told anyway. Yeah, something like that. It feels huge, and it could even be something even larger in the near future. And I don't know if that plays out in the U.S. Probably does. But over there to our friends in France, 12 people were arrested in France after 145 people reported being poked with syringes. That's creepy, friends. 145 people. And who knows what that's actually really going to lead to. Nothing good, I can tell you that for sure. And I'm very interested in knowing what happens in the coming weeks around those 145 people. Now infected people. But infected by what? Now, of course, several reports are telling us, that it's that date drug, date. I'm not going to say the other word, but that drug. And there were several people who reported that they were not feeling well afterwards. But again, the controlling news network, CNN, is trying to tell us that it was that date drug. Please. They are such liars. Like, please. So another 371 people were reportedly arrested in Paris due to what they're telling us are other incidents. What's other incidents? That causes you to arrest 371 people. That's a lot. They sure do love placing that veil over the truth, don't they, friends? They really do. That whole event with the syringes is creepy as hell. So creepy to me. 12 people hitting 145 people. How would that have anything to do with a date drug? I'm sorry. Let's get real, friends. Really, let's get real. And the people reported they didn't feel right. They weren't having the other symptoms that you would have from the date drug. So this is huge. And those 12 people weren't poking 145 people hoping to get lucky in Paris. No, sorry, that's not what this was about. This is much bigger, and they're not telling folks because they don't want to cause huge alarm, which I understand that, but that's the truth. And as I've been telling you all, friends, be very, very mindful when you're out and about. Stay away from the roadsides and large crowd gatherings. And if you are walking along the roadside, be mindful of the traffic and the vehicles, not the people, but the traffic and the vehicles. If you're mindful, crowd gatherings especially, whenever possible, if you're alert and you're mindful, I guarantee you will have nothing to worry yourself over. Did you happen to see this very large round object here that fell from the skies in Indiana, friends? Woo, very strange, and no surprise it's likely connected to DARPA. They won't tell us that, though, of course. What they are telling us is that it belonged to the V2X, which is a company, an aerospace and defense contracting company. Of course it is. Which, again, still connects to DARPA. And that just happened, they say, to blow in the wind. Take a look at this thing again, friends. It blew away in the wind, and it blew a mile away from where they are located. You can tell by looking at this thing, there ain't no way in heck this thing's just going to blow away in the wind. Sorry, no. Apparently the hatch opened up as well, right, miles away on the roadside. Now, V2X has a $100 million contract with the FBI. And they are basically, friends, defense contractors. And if that be the case, then of course they're connected to DARPA. Of course they are. But what is this strange object, friends? What is it? And how could the wind blow, again, such a large object that is obviously very heavy? So what is it exactly? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Because I don't have no answers for you other than a giant eyeball and probably something really creepy that was floating in the sky and they lost control of, and it fell out because it fell during a thunderstorm. Yeah, they lie about everything, so don't believe them. V2X, government contractor for the defense and the FBI. That looks like a giant spy device. It probably is. Now, there's also, at the same time, we still got a lot of drone activity happening over the east coast of the United States. But no one seems to be discussing this fact very much lately. Why is that? I have no doubt that they're looking for something. I have no doubt. I have friends in Pennsylvania keep sending me pictures of these drones and helicopters and Black Ops helicopters all over the place. Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which means it's all in Jersey and everywhere else as well. So to me, they're looking for something, friends. As I said a long time ago. Something likely very toxic. something that was smuggled into this country. And let's hold in the light that whatever it is, they find it. Because they're not doing so good so far. And well, friends, July is going to bring with it these huge revelations when it comes to the skies. So hold on tight for some coming sky events and some type of sky invasions. I don't know what that means, but Spirit said sky invasions. So whether that be military-related sky invasions, that's probably part of it, which is obvious. But others may be connected to UFOs. More drone invasions, that would be sky invasions. Forgot about the drones. And I would bet that these ones, the UFOs that we see, are the ones that are reverse engineered by our own governments. Not those little alien people from another planet. July is a 7 universal month in numerology. And that 7 is very significant when it comes to altering your belief system. And they know that. Those that control things, the puppeteers, they know that. So to do things and pull things off purposely in July in that 7 vibration to alter your beliefs, to pull you more towards what they want you to believe. So don't fall into it. You might see suddenly in some places a sudden hologram of the Holy Mother Mary in the sky to get people to transfer their belief system or what have you. That's just an example. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just giving you an example. That's that 7 universal energy, and we're in that 9 year of endings, death of cycles. So yeah, get rid of and shed the old beliefs and program you with new ones. So be aware. Shifting our consciousness. I'll go more into details about this when we get to July's forecast and predictions, which remember will premiere on Sunday. Keep an eye out for it. Spirit warned us of these coming 3 major volcanic eruptions that would occur, and I think I was getting that information also a couple years back. I was definitely getting this whole rift, which is basically a crack beneath the ocean, happening in the Pacific, and I've been getting that in visions for several years for sure. So two of these volcanoes, Spirit showed, signifying the third one, which would be the coming event, the third volcanic eruption that would happen beneath the waters, unleashing in turn global major events. So interesting enough, in my weather prediction video, one of the places I pointed to and felt that one of these 3, and these are just analyzation and using my intuition, Spirit said 3, but didn't really say exactly where. But I was pulled to Indonesia, and which in Indonesia over the weekend, look at this major blast. Mother Nature is so beautiful. But look at it, sending ash and debris miles in the sky. A spectacular display put on by Mother Earth, with many more spectacular displays coming from Mother Earth that are on our doorsteps. Mother Earth's maybe July 4th fireworks show? Wouldn't surprise me. Let Mother Earth get in on July 4th a little bit. So now, a warning, this is also interesting, a warning about an Alaskan volcano that is getting ready to rumble, according to satellite data. Now, this one I may pronounce wrong. Again, you don't need to correct me. It's just a volcano name. It's not a big deal. But Alaska's Liamna volcano. So could this be the second one that Spirit warned us about in Alaska? Because Spirit did point to Alaska. Alaska was another place because Spirit did tell us that there'd be major volcanic eruptions in the United States of America. And of course, Alaska is one of those places. Or could it be Mount St. Helens? Mount Rainier? I don't know. But according to this article and according to satellite data, this here volcano, sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there, in Alaska is about to erupt. Now, in the article, it claims that, they say it's avalanches happening around the volcano that's causing the little earthquakes. Yeah. But satellite data shows that it's rumbling. All right. They just don't really, they're never honest with us, are they? Well, regardless, something's on our doorsteps. And the big question is, which volcano will it be? Spirit said that there would be 2 that would occur on land, big ones. That one in Indonesia is pretty darn big. And the third would happen beneath the waters in the Pacific. So I expect Indonesia's eruption to likely be the first one. And then the second one within the next week, And then the third one, perhaps the following week, maybe July 4th weekend. Just an analyzation for you all, friends. Did you also know that summer solstice? This is really interesting. Tell me the climate isn't really shifting and changing? Yeah, snow, that 4-letter bad word, fell in several strange places. Remember that prophecy? I did a video on it. I'll try to remember to put it up above and down below in the description. The Merry Summer Rain Prophecies of No Eyes, the indigenous and blind woman from America, of course. In that video, No Eyes said, summer and winter all mixed together, she says. So is this a sign or is this actually normal? Spirit says it's definitely not normal. And in my opinion, it's very symbolic being that it occurred on summer solstice. Now, we would expect that to happen on December solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter solstice. Not summer solstice. This should be happening down maybe in the Southern Hemisphere somewhere. They just had winter solstice. Not us. No Eyes Prophecies, friends, is turning out to be right on point. Beings winter and summer are all mixed together on summer solstice of all days. Come on, that's so symbolic. So this happened in Idaho. And then it also happened in Montana. And Idaho is a strange place, I would think, to see snow in June. The higher peaks of Montana maybe, but still. I would think anywhere in the United States, would be like odd to see it on summer solstice. Montana was also hit. In one area of Montana, they got 10 inches of the cold white stuff, friends. Lake Tahoe, that was another one that got snow on the solstice. It's very, very strange, friends. Very strange. Definitely signs that the planet is shifting and the Earth is going in a completely different direction. And she literally is going in a completely different direction. And I'm going to leave you with that. But I do have one more thing to share. Somebody sent me an awesome gift in the mail. And that was Candace M., who is in the Canada. She's in Canada. What was it? The British Columbia. Victoria, BC. Sorry. Victoria, BC. And Candace sent me new towels. She really didn't. But thanks for the towels anyway. She used that to pack it, actually. But look at this. This is so freaking awesome. Because let me tell you, I love me some damn good maple syrup. And I know this has got to be like the best maple syrup. Maple Crest. Look at that bad boy. This is heavy, too. It's like a big bottle of port or whiskey. That's what I thought it was when I first opened. I'm like, is this whiskey or port? Candace, I am going to put this in my fridge because I like it cold. And I think I'm going to make pancakes tomorrow. Because I have maple syrup in my survival bin with some pancake mix because it's easy to hold on to in case you need something for survival. But I'm going to use this. I'm not saving this. I'm going to use this. I'm going to have me some pancakes and sausage for breakfast tomorrow. Thank you so much, Candace. I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you and all the supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. Please do hit that thumbs up, love button. Remember, I just put out a whole bunch of channel predictions on Sunday, and I will be doing my July forecast by this coming Sunday. Keep an eye out for that. Lots of predictions. So much going on in July. It's going to be interesting when I actually sit down and really go through the forecast. Whoa, it's going to be wild. So you don't want to miss that either. Thanks for clicking that thumbs up, love button. And if you just started to vibe with the tribe, we welcome you to the tribe, baby. You will not be disappointed here. Equal love and equal balance. So until the next time, friends, remember, be bold, be true, be kind. Be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. And much love, friends. Much love.